expectations emotionally in that regard. And the current state of affairs that we're in, not that surprising. That and Chicago, again, let me know if you can hear me, fire it up or say hello. No, just not having a good connection with this for some reason. I see a chat room though. There we go. Something's live somewhere, it seems. I'll reload this page and see if I can see it on my end. It's a little difficult. I don't see a live thing on Restream, but things change. Oh yes, there we go. I think we are up on there now, which is good. Hi everybody. Hello. And I'm trying to get connected with Chicago and Johnny Million for today's show. At some point, it may end up being that they just have to grab audio from YouTube if it's not coming through. So how's Chicago's in commercial? Are they playing you in? Okay, good. Yeah, I saw the play in, so I just can't hear from them. I can't hear audio from Chicago right now, so I'm just playing it as if. I'll go buy my breaks, and we'll just see how it flies. And Johnny Million's going to try and reconnect at some point, I'm hoping. Can't tell if it shouldn't be on my end. Internet on this end is very strong, so it's hard to say if it's just a failure on the connection with the Ecamm interview part or what have you. So I will try and see what I can manage as we go forward. But welcome to the show, everybody. Hi there. I'll jump over and maybe just put just my mug on the screen temporarily so that I can see you guys and discuss things with this, as opposed to a little blank screen with Johnny Million's name under it. Lots of news to cover. But on a personal note, I know a lot of people are wondering and asking about the circumstance I'm in, and I'll just clarify that my dad is in hospice, and he has decided to forego further dialysis, and so it is just a matter of time at this point, and I'm just here spending time with him, what time I do have. And so it might be a bumpy ride as far as the show and the content and all that. And I will say that among the other moments that I've had of clarity in and amongst all this, which is, an exercise in stoic optimism, if I do say so my damn self. But there is a clear, and one of the things that occurred to me in helping my dad around, he's 84, I think, approaching 84. He just turned 84, approaching 85. If he can manage any more approach, he's on final approach, I guess, towards 85 would be the theory. He has he has pulling in his ankles caused by his ailments and his circumstance, and in doing that, in experiencing that, his ankles feel like clay. And it occurred to me while I was helping him deal with that this is the circumstance that our current president is in. Donald Trump has the exact same issue that my father has, and he's currently in hospice. Now, there are other obvious things that my dad is dealing with that, like renal failure, that Trump is, as far as we know, not. But the physical ramifications are still very similar and extraordinary. And in experiencing them firsthand, I have to say there are very few things that can be done once that stage of life approaches. And it requires a tremendous amount of care just for some even minor sense of normalcy. And I do not see, and I think, besides this idea that Trump is surrounded by doctors at all time, I don't see familial closeness around the kind of medical weight that he is carrying the way my dad is. The way, my dad there's a current parade of family and friends who are coming by like a living wake to pay tribute to my dad and to say goodbye and say their piece and and to not try and get too emotional, because I'm almost all cried out at this point. I gotta say, I'm obviously not, but there's Chicago is popping back in. That's a good thing. Hi, Chicago. Welcome back. Sorry about that. I have been broadcasting on there. If we need to pick up, you might be able to go to the YouTube channel, because I think I'm up on there regularly. So if you have that in reserve, we might be able to deal with that. And since we've been in break and we'll come out of that, I'm waiting for Johnny to reconnect as well. So fingers crossed he's able to do that. Chicago, can you hear me? Just trying to
hear us.
Yes. And there's Johnny coming back as well. I'm not quite sure what the hangout was, but hi, Johnny. Yes, I hear everybody, and that's good. And hopefully it sticks this time around. I'm not quite sure what the hangup was. Johnny, can you hear me?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yes. I was just...
I just told CPT that you were on YouTube, and then all of a sudden I could hear you in my headphones.
Yeah. Well, and I just told them the same thing, so that if there's an issue, they can bounce the audio off there and have that in reserve, waiting. Nice. If something fails going in the interview process. Hopefully it works out just fine. I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't work. There's no firewall here or anything to speak of that would do it, but that's our intro, and we're back. Thank you. I told Johnny Million. Yes, it is helping. I told Johnny Million not to be nice to me at the beginning of the show, because
my default position.
It's right. Yes, it's very helpful, because if I'm going through something, or if I'm feeling sad, melancholy, or even overjoyed to the point of tears, the last thing you want to do is be nice to me, because that will always just make it worse or / better or whatever.
My gallows humor is finely tuned, my man.
Yes, I'm aware. So what I was saying, though...
I slayed. When my dad died, I slayed reading the emails that people sent him to his phone when people thought he was still alive. I read those out loud to a kitchen full of family. And I kept interjecting things like, "Get back to me soon, unless you're dead." And,
right.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Dad is up there, and I've managed to make him laugh a couple of times. He is hard of hearing.
Yay.
And so you have to do jokes twice. It's like, I feel like a Catskill comic. I'm like, I said, try the fish, like there's always that second follow-up, repeat of the punchline that has to happen. So there's a comedy echo that goes on, and I've managed to get him to laugh a couple of times. I'm trying not to be too gallows humor with him, because of the pain that he's in. I'm afraid that it will land at the wrong time. So know your audience at a certain time. But exactly. For everybody else,
rehearse the laugh, don't torture them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what I did say, and that you missed out on, I'm sure, was that my dad, I would argue that one of the things that people need, no matter more than anything, when they're in a situation at end of life, or when they are in great suffering or in pain, is love and physical contact. They need, sometimes just rubbing their arm or petting their back or touching them, letting them know you're there, is more medicinal.
Trump's a big hugger, you can tell. He seems really comfortable in that situation.
And the same with family, right? And I was, in seeing and being overjoyed, and by the parade of people coming by to pay tribute to my dad. Like friends and family. It's great. But I was, I have been. Like, I'm the sitting masseuse. I'm rubbing his arms and his shoulders and his neck, and because it's painful in the position he has to sit in for a long time. Yeah,
I was really good at it.
I am very good at it, and I was his feet and his ankles are very sore, and he has the same kind of pooling in his ankles that Trump has.
I did hear you talking about this.
Yes, so I, in massaging his ankles and stuff, they feel like clay. It's like Play-Doh. It's a very strange experience, because you'll leave a dent. And Trump's feet are exactly the same way. And I just don't see, even with medical services being around him at all times, because he's the president of the United States, that kind of like family taking care of him. Not now, ever.
Yeah.
And to me, that's in many ways the testament than anything. If your wife runs for the hills at the first sign of you being sick and worn out. And right, she's like,
Yep.
check please, and your family members, you don't see them like holding your hand or being around,
Right.
and it's not like he's in hospice like my dad is right now. But he's definitely going through it. He's definitely experiencing major health problems, and
Oh yeah.
and has been for some time, to the point where I don't think I'll ever be surprised that he's not getting that kind of support, but it is clear. And so it's going to get worse, and he's going to get meaner, because one of the things that happens when people are running out of runway is the experience that they have of the affection and love and family around them, or the animosity that they might have with family, or whatever grudges they carry around, get amplified. Your brain spirals into what it knows. And what if what it knows is love and connection and personal attachment and joy and and closeness, then that's what it will surround itself with and focus on, by and large, as you wind down. But if you're full of grudges,
I have spoken. I've spoken so fondly about your dad when you're not around that Lisa, Mrs. Million, hugged me when I told her everything that was going on, because she knew it would upset me. Your dad, he encouraged me to play guitar with one phrase more than anybody in my family.
Right.
I was playing in his in your living room on an acoustic, and I've been playing for about a year. And your dad came in and said, "Hey, John, how long have you been playing?" I said, "About a year." And I was really embarrassed. And he goes, "Oh, you got a knack for it." And I was off to the races.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever heard anything like that from somebody like him.
Right. And my dad plays. My dad's a player. Like he plays.
Oh, I know.
Clawhammer banjo and guitar, and and he's surrounded by players. We've got the members, all the surviving members of the Buzzard Rock String Band are coming by on Tuesday to say,
I remember the Buzzard Rock Sponge Monkeys.
Yes, that was one of our alternate names for the band early days because of that. And so, I'm very clear that, as age creeps upon us all, and, infirmity and lifestyle are those two trains that collide.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did you lose me for a second? Are you losing me at all? I still see you and you're good. So that happens in waves.
It got spotty, but it wasn't like before.
Okay, great. So as I'm more aware of this, and by the way, this leads into why shutting down the government over healthcare is a mistake for Republicans that they will regret. Because let me tell you, I'm in Kentucky right now, and I'm not alone in going through this situation in Kentucky. There are multiple families with multiple family members at varying ages dealing with similar circumstances.
You can't see a dead cat down there in middle America without somebody going through it.
Yeah, exactly. And cutting things off, to spite them in the middle of this, or in the case of, the Affordable Care Act, where you have a situation where someone can stay on your insurance till they're 27 and the like and whatever. And think of a parent that's passing away and they're worried that their kid won't get to, they're not going to be around for their kid to stay on their insurance, or their kid won't be able to afford insurance if they pass away. And so the end of their life is full of stress because they're dying younger than they should have because of ailment or outrunning, their deductible and those kind of things. Those elements.
Well, Fox News is scrambling. I saw at the gym this morning, they were just posting clips of Obama in 2013 blaming the GOP for the shutdown. But what they're leaving out is that the Dems did not have control of the House and Senate at that
Right.
point when he was
That's right.
blaming the GOP for the shutdown. But all they have to do is tell their dingbat audience that this is exactly the same. This is what they do. They blame the GOP.
Well, the other thing they've done, and this is the problem with vilifying your enemies to such an extreme that you can't walk it back. That there is a difference between a political opponent and a natural enemy. And Trump doesn't know the difference. And there's one of the reasons why, the frustrating aspect of the comedy in the Senate and my dear colleague from a state I hate and from who acts like a jerk every time I see him, but is a representative of, a constituency, a group of the public, American citizens that you have to respect, even if they're disrespectful in their choice of senator. He told everyone, why are we shutting it down? Because the Democrats want $1.5 trillion to go to illegals for their health care. And when it's really for the subsidies and to guarantee that American citizens can have their insurance. And now you can't walk that back. You can't if you're a grown up. You can't if you're a real leader. You can't if you have any sense of it. You could go, actually, I was lying. It wasn't for all the illegals. I was just hoping to get you guys to hate them more than me. Right? Right.
You don't even have to go that far to have a grown-up ability to walk it back, saying I was a little too black and white with it. You can come back with a nice shade of gray and save face if you've got any political skill. You're
right. You're assuming a complete brain, a functioning soul, in the person we're discussing. Because hypothetically, you're absolutely right. But this goes back to the whole, if Trump had only during COVID, if he had only, well, the problem is that's based on this assumption that you have a person with a complete set of facts and a total assessment of reality that's making decisions based on all the information they have and all the ethical options that a human being has. He simply doesn't. If he was capable of making those changes, those decisions, those alternate paths, he would not be Donald Trump. He would not have been elected by and large by maggots if they saw any options. As a matter of fact, anytime he comes down on the side of some semblance of normalcy, even out of practicality, in that, obviously he does not have a healthcare plan. Obviously, he does not even have concepts of a healthcare plan. It is idiotic to suggest any such thing.
No.
It's moronic. And nobody and all the Republicans in office know this. None of them bring up the president's healthcare plan or the president's concepts of a healthcare plan at all, because they know there is nothing to suggest. It's absurd. But if he had one, he would have to release it, and it would have to go into the same scrutiny the ACA did, and he could not even allow an idea to come forward that could be criticized. Therefore, he's pre-editing, even if and again, what are they going to come up with that the ACA didn't come up with, except adding a public option? Watch that happen. And for the record, before we get to a real break, because I think we're okay to go to break in a second. One of the things I want people to watch out for is how increasingly, while claiming that they are winning, while claiming that they have a mandate to do whatever they want, Republicans in the Senate, when it comes to social safety net stuff, are increasingly sounding like Democrats in their defense of SNAP and welfare benefits and Section 8 and those kind of things, because it's affecting their constituencies. And the minute you actually have to be responsible for some people, you start sounding like a Democrat, because that's what Democrats do. Whether I like you or not, whether you voted for me or not, whether you voted for our side or not, we don't want you homeless, we don't want you sick, and we don't want you starving. And we'd rather argue with a well-fed person that doesn't have malignancies and has to sleep on concrete. And And the minute Republicans start caring about their constituencies, whether it's to save their own seat or whether because they actually are realizing the damage, like MTG or Josh Hawley or any of these idiots that suddenly start sounding like Democrats occasionally talking about these programs and how poor people are affected, I consider that a win for Democrats, because whether they'll admit it or not, they're proving that our ideas are the right ones. We'll be back right after this. It's the Housemarks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Hold on to that thought.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Somebody's got a roto. Is that a roto vibe or a...
I got a tuning pedal so I can keep my guitar all in one tuning and not have to monkey with it, but so I can go...
I love that pedal, and I want to have its babies.
It's called the Digitech Hammer-On.
60
It
seconds.
can go up or down.
Excellent. Thank you, Chicago.
Thank you.
The Digitech Hammer-On. Sold. Mm-hmm. That might be as good. Yeah.
Somebody in the chat wants to include your dad on his church's prayer list. Is his first name Harry?
Yes, it is.
Or Harold?
Harry Sparks.
Which one, Harry or Harold? Harry.
Just Harry. Harry and Sparks.
It's a nice set of Harry Sparks you got there, my man.
Yeah, that's why I went by Hal, because Harry Sparks sounds like a series of adjectives. Mm-hmm.
I got to recommend the
EVH
radio program,
Nice.
Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Sweet. My dad's
Is that your
phone is
phone,
ringing.
Hal?
That's my dad's phone. It will be ringing as long as it takes someone to get up and get to the kitchen. So that might be a moment.
Hello.
It's okay. It's just nature of the house.
What I was going to say,
it won't be my dad
before
though.
we went to break, was about MTG and Josh Hawley sounding like Democrats. It is because they realize that they have constituents and they desperately want to stay in power.
Oh yeah. Well, and here's the thing. We learned this from COVID that Democrats care more about the lives of actual Republicans, human beings, not people in office, but specifically their constituents. We care more about their lives, actually being alive, than Republicans do. Because there's always been this kind of like white trash shedding that goes on in Republican circles, that you can't save everybody. Shred? Yeah. And yes, I did. There you go. Thank you. I took you long enough. Yeah. Johnny's.
I think there's a bit of a delay between us today. Sorry.
There's definitely a bit of a delay. I'll pretend I'm Chris Matthews talking over everyone. Creates that fun overlap that everybody has. But Trump is very confused, apparently, according to the Daily Beast, that apparently he thought the shutdown would last 10 days at most, and that Democrats would cave in, and that his threats to destroy everything would make them cower, apparently, and he goes, Trump has had it. There was a source close to the White House said, Trump, he's had it with these people because he knows they're playing politics. This is obviously a White House person talking, but nobody thought it was going to last this long. In addition, they say that Trump is frustrated, publicly whining about how he's frustrated. He goes, I don't know what's wrong with them, he said of Democrats on Friday. They've never done a thing like this. They become crazed lunatics. All I have to say is, let's go, let's open our country, and everything snaps back into shape. So there's something wrong with them. It's their fault. Everything is their fault. It's so easily solved. Now, this is what he ran on this too, that it's everybody else's problem, that he is all solutions, no problems, and everybody else, and all he has to do is snap his fingers and everything will start working again. And when it doesn't, it's always somebody else's fault. It's always because of, malignancy, evil, or lunacy on the part of whoever he's talking to. They're crazed leftists or they're crazed, what have you. And the reality is that there are two states that are that are directly covering on their own their SNAP benefits for the people of the state. California and New York, those terrible Democrat-run states with all their Democrat-run cities,
Yep.
And that make all the money that pay for the rest of the country. I went through this on the last show I did, and apologies for the fact that it was Thursdays, guys, because of where I am, but that's just life. But we went through, Josh Hawley whining about SNAP benefits being cut off, and that his state takes in $1.5 billion for SNAP benefits. The entire population of Missouri is smaller than the San Francisco metro area. San Francisco metro area doesn't have 2 senators. They split, with the rest of the state, with 44 million people. They have a mayor. They have a city council. And at some point, we have to start asking these red state politicians, if your state, like North Dakota or South Dakota, only has about 500,000 people in it, why do you have such big government? I know you have fewer Congress people because that's how the law is. But you get 2 senators, you got a state Senate, you got a state house, you got a dozen people in each, you got a governor. Why do you need all this big government if you're a bunch of bootstrappers? How about this? How about North Dakota gets a mayor? Because there are towns in this country that don't have city councils, that are run just by a mayor and like a city commissioner, like 3 people run the whole city, that have the population of North Dakota. At what point do these big big anti-big government conservatives who want a government so small you could drown it in a bathtub start with their own state? And the other thing is all this bootstrapping talk. We hear about how, illegals and welfare queens and glommers on in all these big blue states and blue cities. And yet, those blue states and those blue cities end up finding somehow the tax dollars to pay for those people if the federal government steps aside. Whereas the red states require the blue states to pay for their welfare recipients, their SNAP programs, and all this secondary support that they pretend doesn't exist. It is sort of the Walmartification of red states, where Walmart can keep their employees' wages low because that's what allows them to get federal benefits, and so they supplement. Their low prices for what they sell are supplemented by the taxpayer, whether you shop there or not. And the people that work there are almost like part-time federal employees, because they get so many state benefits that are the bennies that you would get from a job where you're doing that kind of work with that much frequency. So the red states need to start, again, they cannot be shamed, but they must be embarrassed. And so it is up to us at this point to start, that we wouldn't have to have such a nanny state if the red states weren't still toddlers. If they would grow up and move out of the house, that red states are the kid in the basement covered in, with his hands covered in Cheeto dust, surrounded by, used Kleenex and a dirty Xbox controller. That's who the red states are at this point, with rare exception. And the states that are still red, like Texas, that do pull their own weight, only do it because of the blue cities. Only do it because Austin, Dallas, and Houston, by and large, operate as blue cities, while the rest of the state gets to play cowboy with their silly wind-up grid and their dream of, Teslafication that magically comes. That they're going to run everything on diesel and anything that, burps out fumes for the rest of time. So I again, I think we'll
Gotta
end
dip
the
out
state.
fumes.
Yep. We can end the nanny state as soon as red states grow the F up. I mean, that's really where we are as a country. We pointed out that like America's educational system always gets a bad rap because we're 40th or 39th in the world on the regular. But if you remove 7 red states, we're 5th. So maybe it's not the educational system in the United States. Maybe it's specifically that the states that don't invest in education, that don't prioritize it, that actually are anti-education, maybe, just maybe, that without that drag, our education system and how we teach our kids, even when it comes to reading, writing, and arithmetic, is beyond adequate, is actually very functional. Can I just say that one of my favorite things to watch is people who deride the public school system, that it churns out automatons who don't know how to think and are just, like it's a factory to create factory workers. All of them went to public school. All of those people went to public schools, with the exception of like Tucker Carlson, where I guess the argument that comes from him is that private school cranks out self-involved bigots with a half-assed view of history. Because I don't know that like if you listen to those guys talk about themselves, they'll all talk about how they're not good at math and how they don't use a lot of the stuff that they learned anymore and blah blah blah. The ones that went to private school, I'll talk about it that way. It was really just a summer camp where they could meet other rich kids and form businesses later on that got a head start on everybody else, and they get enough F around money so that they don't have to find the margin between FA and FO is as broad as possible. The entire purpose of creating a middle class is to broaden the distance between FA and FO, so that you have more room. You can educate yourself. You don't have to go, all right, I can't have a hobby or an interest or study something that's not directly a vocation, or I will starve. That there's no room between what I can learn and because what I have learned must feed me. And if it doesn't, I'm screwed. If the factory I set my sights on closes down, I go hungry. That's where the FA and the FO are too close together. And the whole purpose of civilized society should be to broaden as much as is reasonable the distance between FA and FO for your offspring. That's what every parent seeks to do. Every parent seeks as best they can to broaden that situation where that's why your kid wears a helmet when he rides a bicycle. Because there were a lot of kids who fell when they were young and before helmets were a thing, where the margin between FA and FO was too tight and they were permanently damaged by this. And so put your seatbelt on, wear your helmet. When COVID or something happens, all that was, and it's amazing to me that Republicans react so negatively to an attempt by the government to try to keep everybody from catching a contagious disease that was just here temporarily. And that, like going inside during a storm is not strange. Not standing outside in the yard when a tornado is coming is not the government trying to control you. A tornado warning is not an attempt at turning you into a mindless automaton. It is a simple attempt to give you the best opportunity to save your own life. And if you choose to slam FA and FO together, nobody can stop you. But within reason, they can stop you from taking other people with you, which is why we don't do DUIs, like why you don't drive under the influence. Because if it was just you on the road, if you're drunk driving in a go-kart around your own property and you kill yourself, nobody kind of cares. You'll end up being a punchline because the distance between FA and FO doesn't affect anyone else. There's no one else in that margin.
Right.
Republicans have this idea that, and one of the most upsetting things about these people calling themselves Christians is that they are Darwinists. And when I mean that, I don't mean that they believe in evolution. I mean that they think the Darwin Awards are a passively eugenic way of looking at the world. And that some people just got to go.
And they think that they're on the right side of the Darwin Awards. That's
yes, it'll never be them, right? It'll never be them. Yep. And it so often is, you know, as we say down here in Kentucky, you know, what's the last thing a redneck says before he dies? Watch this. Right. This is an entire state full of people riding BMX bikes off the top of a barn into a bale of hay to show off to some people that are too high to notice.
And, I'm Hal Sparks, and this is Jackass.
That's right. Yeah. Right. Well, I told a story. We got to take a break. But I told a story in Escape from Alcatraz, my first stand-up special, about how
DVD.
Yes, at my elementary school, because they couldn't afford a real playground, one day they showed up with 3 trucks and gave us 3 piles of dirt so that redneck kids could play King of the Hill, which is one kid stands on the top, the rest of the other kids try to be the person on the top, and you push them down a 6-foot hill. And we turned it into a BMX bike ramp. So you would ride down this hill, try to jump. There were 3 hills. You try to jump from the first hill all the way over the second hill to the third hill, which is materially impossible based on thrust and drag and all the...
You just wanted to say thrust.
Yes, I did. And drag. And most everybody buried their front wheel into the second hill and got slammed into the thing. And it was basically a way of neutering an entire generation of Kentuckians. Let's make all these kids sterile using handlebars and blunt force trauma. But this is... they shrug that off to some degree. Well, you got to go with something, right? There was smoking used to take care of it. Well, let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, live with 100% more. Johnny Million. I'm down in Kentucky. Are you flirting with me with your guitar? We'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. My dad is my dad is
that was awesome, Johnny.
I agree, Chicago. Did you hear him, Johnny? Johnny, he said that was awesome.
What did he say?
He said that was awesome.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man.
My dad is shedding stuff, so he's giving away his shotguns and and that kind of stuff. And I'll remind me before the end of the show, and I'll show you my Herschel House flintlock that I have that I'm keeping because it was built for me when I was a kid. My. I have his too because that's the grown-up gun, but I have a Herschel House flintlock that's been in the family. I mean, it was made for me when I was 10, 11 years old. But he gave me one of his acoustics that he has here, and I'll show it to you on personal time later. And thanks CSL and Andrea and everybody for being helpful and patient and flexible during this time. Our mods and everybody, I love you guys.
Everybody's on board.
Back in 20.
Thank you. Here's my see if
Hey.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Wish I could be there now.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
My By the way, Johnny is not doing that with a guitar if you're listening on the radio. I'm doing that with my own body.
That's right.
It's something I learned from the puppetry of the penis guys years ago. And
I was just about to say that. Darn it.
I was in the orchestra. For they have the greatest orchestra. You don't want to see it, but it makes beautiful music. If you look all over right-wing media right now, what you will see is what I call a parade of nut picking from TikTok about people threatening to steal because SNAP benefits are being cut off. And that, there's going to be these poverty riots. The part that they don't notice and I've seen a bunch of this stuff, unfortunately, over the last week, is when people are these videos that they put up from TikTok, is how very many people they're posting. Largely, I would say 90% of the posts they're posting are black people because of the narrative they are trying to create. But how many of those people say that they voted for Trump or are sending a message directly to him, like, why did I vote for you if you're cutting off my SNAP benefits? The irony being is that the ones they don't show, which are the, Appalachian whites and people in Tennessee who are in the same situation, who are making the same videos, and are complaining that somehow they were supposed to be on the list because they voted for Trump, which is a bit of what he sold. I mean, if you look at Trump, what is MAGA but an overflow room for a country club? Like when they have a concert or a special event, and there are people who, like the Oscars or something, and they'll have the room you get to be in, but you're important enough to be at the Oscars, but you're not important enough to be in the live room, so you get to be in one of the overflow rooms. That became a thing. And then they're like 5 tiers down. Like, you're in the 5th overflow room, so you're in a hotel room with like a 35-inch television and some cold cuts, but you're technically at the Oscars, right? That's how it is. And there's this, as ridiculous and embarrassingly stupid and sad as that is, there are people who will fight for that because of the sort of tangential prestige that they get from being in the in crowd or belonging or being mainly, I would argue, above other people. And by the way, I'm reminded, as we are often are, of one of my favorite Enough is Enough songs, "The In Crowd." If you haven't, the chorus of which is "I've just been rejected by the in crowd," and it's an awesome song. Yeah, and that in many ways, with the Mar-a-Lago sort of idea and the Trump dollars and the Nisara Jisara part of QAnon, of the Great Reset of the economy, where he was going to wipe out their debt magically, and all this weird pseudo-commie right-wing nonsense that they have fixated on, and they see no irony in it at all. Watching them kind of spout this stuff and then come to the realization that it was never going to happen, that they were never going to belong, that they were never going to be part of the club, and that in many ways the letting it roll part of both COVID and fentanyl in his first term was what George Carlin would call passive eugenics. You can't save everybody into, we should probably make it as easy for them as possible. Instead of just saying, we're not going to intervene between you and your choice of demise. This is in many ways, I would argue, why they fought so heavily, besides the ones that were in red states like Kentucky, where I am now, with Mitch McConnell fighting against, supporting the tobacco lobby, fighting against, the labeling of cigarettes and the not selling them to minors and not advertising to minors. Beyond that, part of it was like, if you can fall for that, you're not genetically, or your family isn't of quality. So we should probably just let you do yourself in as early as possible. There is a passive eugenics trend in MAGAdom in this Darwinism that has grown inexorably since Trump started hanging out with Elon Musk. It is something he has always believed. He has always believed he is a better genetic stock. God knows why, because again, his parents, like a lot of people's grandparents, died at, in their mid to early 80s or late 70s because of Alzheimer's and other ailments. It's not like they lived to be 109, and there's something oddly the odd bragging rights that he thinks he has about it. It's pretty normal, actually, as far as their lifespan, especially for people who have every opportunity for healthcare, that they did not extend their life, any more than anyone else. So, but he'll claim this, and fast racehorses produce fast racehorses. That's his belief system. Well, I got to tell you, but for some major medical advances and some real care early in your life and a shift in diet to not trigger your genetic triggers that you have in there, people who get Alzheimer's in their late 70s and die in their early 80s produce people who get Alzheimer's in their late 70s and die in their early 80s, buddy. And he's never done anything that would interrupt that fact. And we're in that situation right along with him. My only worry is that whatever happens to him that removes him from this planet, whether it's during his term, which I think there are a lot of signs that point to that will happen, or shortly thereafter, where they think he's going to make some sort of miracle comeback in maggot land as he enters the hardest of hard fades in the world. I only hope it is visible to them so that they know we didn't participate in it, because I don't need anybody being vengeful to no innocent person needs to bear the burden of his crap lifestyle catching up with him. And I got to tell you, from what I've seen in his travel lately, there's a very strong chance, as we go to break right now, that it's going to be a flight of stairs. Watching him walk down Air Force One's stairs and his insistence on doing it because Biden couldn't, his own ego is going to catch up with him. And where he used to tap the rail to remind himself that it was there, which was worrisome enough, he now has a death grip on that thing because he is petrified that he is going to miss one step, and that's all she wrote. When Gerald Ford fell down the stairs, he fell on his butt, and he was a relatively athletic man his whole life. He played football. He was not as old as Trump, and it still hurt. This is not going to be good. And the people around Trump, for all this talk of elder abuse of Biden when they pretended to care occasionally, it is tenfold with Donald John Trump in his hard fade. And I had predicted he will have 4 hours of cognitive ability where he can be some semblance of awake. And I pushed it off to the spring because I assume that between Walter Reed and all the experimental peptide stuff that's out there, that they're just going to guinea pig the heck out of him and feed him, Adderall and modafinil and GLP-1s to keep his weight down, and they're going
to be putting like nanites into his system. He's
every
that
possible thing.
It was just made up of little robots.
Right, exactly. They're going to do everything they can, but because he is who he is not going to respond to it, and he's not going to keep it up, and he'll be inconsistent because he won't care, and he doesn't know which part of it matters more than the rest. And so unless he's sent in to Walter Reed every 2 days and they got him on an IV, which very well might be happening, there is a very strong chance that he will go out the hard way, and he will go very visibly because of his own ego wanting to project that he is magically healthier, magically better. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. I think Philip Bittner is still going to be able to join us. Fingers crossed, because, on the road, you can never tell. But we'll be back right after this. Mm-hmm.
Somebody in the chat posted, "I'm on Team Flight of Stairs."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, like I watched there, like I think Daily Beast had an image of him like death gripping the stairs or whatever. And so I went back and I looked at all the videos of him going to all these countries, going to Malaysia, all the Asian these are long flights. These are hard on anybody. Anybody'd be tired. You get jet lagged.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that you're even operating during normal work hours is almost an absurdity. As the president of the United States, you should be able to insist like, hey, we're having meetings at 9 p.m. because I'm still on noontime and I got to be awake. I got to go back to the United States. I'm not on vacation. I'm not adapting to the beach life. But nope, they're just setting it up, being stupid. And he's too
I saw
arrogant.
a clip of Yeah, I saw a clip of his debate in 2024 with Biden, and he looks like a different person. Trump does.
Yes.
This has been a really rough few months.
I gotta say, my dad, when I showed up, I just saw him this in July. I brought my son to see him over the summer, and he was not doing great, but he was mobile.
You froze hell.
I did? Okay, I'll stop moving for a second. Hello,
Yeah.
checkity one, checkity two. But I checked in, we saw him in July. You froze now too. We're turnabout is fair play. Do you hear me? Okay, though. John, it's a little choppy. Okay, so these are like internet gremlins. They just kind of come like in a wave. But he looks very different now, just in like his head hanging and his back and all that from July, like a huge turn. And it's obviously like he chose to stop dialysis, but he chose to stop this week. So this has been this didn't happen overnight. And it's gonna, when it does happen, I keep recalling Val Kilmer at the end of his life. When Val, like, he did Top Gun, and that was the last time he was able to stand effectively. Like, he used up everything he had to do that stuff. And I got to tell you, like, I liked the movie Maverick a lot. I think it's a great, it's the movie it's supposed to be. It's what it says on the tin, as they say. But thank you. That scene with him and Val Kilmer murders me, because I love Val Kilmer's work so much. And just to see him, using up his life force to do that. Because he wanted to. I don't see Phil in here. Phil may not have the new link. That might be it.
I've had people walk out of me.
Oh, yeah.
Let me copy that and make a bigger pardon. He might be in. That's how it works sometimes. Whoops. Oh no. I opened Streamlabs. It's going to be a jerk.
Time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show. So I'm going to try and get Phil in here. That's my fault. I think he might have the wrong link, because we had to change one at the last minute as it happened. And there we go. And so we'll jump back in there. I have to pop in on Discord and send that over. If I can get my menus to work on my Mac, it'll take a moment. We'll get him in here. But one of the things that we hear about how many people rely on food stamps and how many people rely on SNAP benefits, the number that keeps coming up is 42 million. And the reason that the number comes up 42 million is that there are not 42 million people that sign up for food stamps. There are not 42 million that, as a matter of fact, that number is probably closer to 12 or 15 million people. It's their family members as well. Or the fact that they have like I'm in a circumstance like where I have a family member in hospice. If I was of lesser means and my family was of lesser means, we would need SNAP to get through it, right? That's the, and there are a lot of families, they don't need SNAP all the time, but if they've got somebody that they're caring for at home that's either really sick or passing away or going through something, or the breadwinner is ill or injured, during that time, they need supplemental nutritional assistance programs. So they sign up for that. But the person that's receiving the benefits, the children, the elderly, the other family members that are in the household, that's the 42 million that are on it. And so I think there's this lie that's painted by the right a lot of times that 42 million people sign up for SNAP, and then there's a bunch of other people that are living on it like ticks. So, we're not counting if a woman has 4 kids, that these 5 people need SNAP benefits. They count them as these 5 people have signed up for these as individuals. Like they're all going shopping. They're all getting, a stipend, to live, that's like an adult. Right. With dependents, that there are 42 million. The other thing is that it's quote unquote illegals get this. Now, one of the reasons why that number is up, the number of quote unquote illegals getting SNAP is up under Donald Trump. Why would that be? Well, that's because he decided to change people's status overnight. That people that were here on, deferred enforcement or deportation orders that were rescinded during Biden or were, extended until they could have their asylum claim processed, or temporary protected status, or had a work visa that Trump decided shouldn't apply to them anymore. He decided all of a sudden that those people are now illegal. They are now here illegally. And because of that, their SNAP benefits that they might have gotten while they were waiting for the ability to work. So you got a bunch of people that come into the country, asylum seekers, and one of the I think it was Newsmax brought this up the other day. And apologies to Phil, I'm having a bit of a technical issue getting the link to him right now, but I will get it to him as soon as I can.
Just send the link to Andrea to get it over to Phil.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. For some reason, I can't do it from my end without us staggering. That they brought up a bunch of people from Afghanistan, people from Iraq, people from specifically people who had helped us during the war that have moved over here. Their families get supplemental insurance because we're still waiting to process their asylum claims so that they can get a full work permit, and so that they and perhaps their partner or even some of their older kids can work. And they can't do that yet. And so in that interim period, we are artificially extending the time that they would be on supplemental nutritional assistance programs when they could be working. They would be working, but they are not allowed. And so the rise in people on SNAP benefits is of Trump's own making to start with, because of that very thing, because of the refusal to process these claims, and changing people's status to call them illegal now. So suddenly we got a bunch of illegals on SNAP benefits that weren't illegal last year or weren't illegal days before. And this is something they're also doing with like immigration roundups. People can be unaware, and this is super strange, that they are now here illegally. That they get an immediate deportation order, and they were never notified. The idea that somebody, and you'll see this in cases where people were notified and did dodge it. Like the story that they cling to is the education superintendent in Iowa, who was born in Ghana, is an African, who was here, got a deportation order during Biden because he had lied on his entry paperwork and he wasn't qualified to do some of the work he was doing. And they said, you got to go. And he dodged it. He basically moved to a state that didn't check your immigration status before they hired you so that you could get a job and get around it. Okay, that's wrong. It should be punished. Nobody should be able to take advantage of the system that way. But that is not the situation with Afghan refugees who helped us during the war, saved our soldiers' lives, worked as scouts, endangered their lives as informants and that kind of stuff, and their families, especially their daughters in that country. That's not the case with those folks. But they want to paint them with that brush and deny them their status. And again, change that status overnight. So this person went from someone who's waiting to have their case heard to, nope, we decided, sight unseen, you're illegal. And therefore, we can use that status as a pejorative to, and there's Phil joining us. Excellent. So I'll be able to bring him in 1 second. Using that as a pejorative allows them to also act as if there were multiple people that were taking advantage of the system. That everything that they said about what was going on with the system, as far as cheaters and what have you, was all true. Was all clearly a part of. Let me see. I think there are 3 people. Where's this guy right here? Hold on 1 second. I'm going to try and bring in the screen. This guy right here. Hold on. Whoops. I'll bring it in a second. Is that we have in this circumstance there we go. I've got to turn on these windows, and I'm doing a little pairing to get the right cameras in because of issues. But in this
Issues.
I've got issues. That by changing the status, they get to pepper anyone who was on the program as an exploiter of the program. And that's, I think, one of the most telling parts of this is this idea that that they will use this as a way to say, look at all these people who are gaming the system. Look at all these people who were tricking us and stealing our welfare funds and all this stuff by being here illegally and taking stuff illegally. When in reality, they were following the law, being respectful to the country that they were in, being valuable citizens, waiting for a chance to work. And then ultimately, they ended up, having their status changed and having it, turned into something else. I'm going to bring Phil in just 1 second. Sorry about the delay, Phil. Get you in here in just a second. This is a way of also tricking their constituents that they are doing something about this, they create this false premise, create this idea that someone is ripping off the system, that that the Democrats want $1.5 trillion for illegals. Well, if you show the real numbers of quote unquote, illegals in the country, the problem you have is that people will start doing the math. They'll start recognizing that, and Phil, I'll bring you in right now and welcome to the show. We're up against the break, but thanks for joining us. Sorry about the delay on that or whatever, just dealing with some stuff here.
Okay.
But one of the ways they could do is they have unfortunately a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this goes, we'll talk about this in terms of like Russia's threats and stories about Ukraine, for example, before and during the beginning part of the war, and how it just doesn't add up over time. That there is an issue that they run into where it's just obvious BS to anybody paying attention. And that's, eventually, whether, people want it to or not, that catches up with you. And in the case of Trump, if you're saying they want $1.5 trillion to give healthcare to illegals, and then you confront the real number of people who are here that are undocumented being 11 million people, not 25 or 35 or 50 or some made up number, or all 42 of the people that are on SNAP. If all the illegal immigrants in the country are 11 million people and not all of them are getting benefits, and you're having to change the status of people to illegal from being completely legal to pad the numbers, eventually it starts looking like, oh, okay, you sold me a bill of goods. You told me this problem would be easy to solve. All I have to do is get rid of this group and my problem is solved. And that group you said was bigger, more powerful, and taking way more than they are. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Phil, we'll check in with you on what's going on in Ukraine, and of course the sort of international fallout of Trump's ASEAN Accords that he's been working on, and this China-Russia mix. We'll talk about that after the break. Give me 1 second. And this guy. Let's see. Is it option click? No. This guy right there. Copy that. Paste settings. There we go. Okay, that's better. Whew. Okay. Sorry, Phil. I had to change the thing at the beginning because
I understand. It's fine. So you're back in your childhood home. Is that the room I'm seeing? Is that?
No, I'm in my dad's office at his house, his little like guest room office. Yeah, you can see if I turn this up on this wall in the background is like all the family pictures and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So there's including two.
It's not a fun process.
Nope. We have including 2 corpse photos from back when they used to take a picture of your relative. The only picture they ever took was when they had died. So yes. I have a
far more of a southern thing, I think, than than us in the Midwest or on the West Coast. But it's not a fun process. I've been through with both of my parents, and it's.
We even have a boudoir picture of one of my great grandmothers. Very, she's just in a petticoat.
This is
and
Damian Perdue,
it's scandalous.
Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back, Phil. Thanks for joining us today, and sorry about the technical issues. It's just the nature of me being on the road. I'll try to work them out while I'm here. I bought my plane ticket here rather quickly, and I have no return flight because that's the current circumstance that I'm in.
I've been through that process. It's not a lot of fun, and my heart goes out to you.
Thanks, man.
It sucks. It sucks. It's not fun.
I want to thank you, by the way, that my dad has a friend who passed away a few years ago. One of my dad's problems is that he's outlived everybody. That he hung in there longer than everybody else, and he went through it with all them. But he had a buddy named Doc Andy, and you're the spitting image. And he noticed on one of our shows that he was like at one point he was like he saw a still of one of our the podcast of us where we're together on the Wednesday show. I think just one of the. And seeing something on my show or whatever, and he was like, "What did Andy come on like that?" I'm like, "Put on your glasses, it's not Andy," but pretty close. And Andy Baker was a classic human being. So you're in good company. Fear not.
No, I'll take it.
King of Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, and the owner of several ornery dogs.
It's one of those things we all go through. I mean, when no one gets out alive.
Yep.
It's coming. My father took it with a certain amount of grace, but also a lot of resistance. He went through Alzheimer's, and Mom went suddenly. So it's just not a lot of fun.
No,
not a lot of fun.
That's
one of those
just where we are.
Human things.
Yep,
that we all
just
do.
humanity.
Yeah,
and that goes to and again, when we're talking about war and peace and the kind of sorrow that comes from situations like this, that it brings it in stark relief. Not that I think you or I or Johnny need it, but I think when you are reminded of these things and how sorely somebody will be missed. That in these circumstances where people are taken from the earth in mass, that those families are going through that as well, and will for a period of time. I saw recently the movie that the like limited series they made about John Wayne Gacy and the families that had been impacted by that. The kids he had taken, and you look at like they never getting over it, just carrying that sorrow and pain with them for the rest of their lives because of how it happened and why it happened. And in Ukraine, that's the problem you have with generational grudges after a war. That's why so much effort has to be taken after a war is over to reconcile somehow. Just between justice and forgiveness is the only path out of any kind of madness. And we see increasingly that the Russians don't seem interested, but the Ukrainians seem like almost resolved to getting there at some point. Tell me the latest news from your end and your experience, and we'll catch up that way too.
Well, first to address that, I mean the cemeteries have grown in Ukraine, and the cost has been unbearable, and it's each and every one of those people who either die fighting on the front lines or they're killed in their beds from a bomb is someone's sibling, loved one, parent, son, daughter, loved one, friend, all of it, and it leaves a gap. And it's cruel, and it takes someone away violently and abruptly from your life. And so this is a country in trauma. Collectively in trauma. And it's sadly also a country that we don't quite understand in states in particular. That there has been a lot of years of suffering and pain and trauma, mostly at the hands of the Russians, but of course there was the Second World War, and it tears it tears a gap in your life, and as you say, you don't get over it so much as you just have to learn to live and adapt. And it's not too. I mean, again, I lost my parents to illnesses. I had empathy for what you're going through currently, but it is not to diminish that my experience or yours, but the violence, and the fact that this is done in war, and nobody asked for it. Nobody, when it's a matter of illness, we all go, we all get aged, and infirmed, and that is part of life. But when your loved one's life is ripped away from you, the malevolent actions of other human beings, there's a particularly painful aspect to it that compounds your grief. And so they're going to be suffering from that here in Ukraine for a very, very long time. And it is part of the reason why it's so awful here. To see these people who don't deserve this, it's families burying, fathers burying their wives and their entire, their three children, sort of thing, because a bomb hit at a certain time in a certain place. And it's the awfulness of it is when you get into mourning and grief, it's not a competition, but there's
Right.
something added. It does seem to me there's a little added extra pain and bitterness and assault to your psyche that you carry with the rest of your life when a nation state uses a bomb or a sniper or a drone to kill your loved one. There's a little something. So look, it's collective here and it's awful. As far as what is happening currently, there's increased fighting out east around a city called Pokrovsk, which has some strategic importance to other cities that are kind of like fortress cities that are holding back the Russians from one part of the country out east in Donbass to the rest of the country, which has more wide open spaces, and it's not as easily defendable as the things that are out in the Donbass. So if the Russians are able to eventually take the city of Pokrovsk and then the surrounding other kind of industrialized, what they're called fortress cities, then they will have very little to stop them from going north to Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, which will be another, absolute grind of a battle.
Right.
And then there's the open plains all the way to the capital, Kiev, and if you can circle around the the river cities, you can get to Odessa, and I mean it's precarious. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen tomorrow. The Ukrainians have shown that they'll make the Russians pay for every inch that they take.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like that. They won't be able to take the fortress cities that I'm mentioning. That kind of their security will alter if Pokrovsk does actually fall, and it doesn't look good for Pokrovsk.
Yeah,
but then you've got these other fortress cities, and those are going to be months and months of battle.
Yeah, right. Well, and again, if there's even the impetus to do it, the recent theory that I've heard about Pokrovsk particularly is that Ukraine has shifted to a bleed Russia system in that if they can hold them off, they don't have to reclaim their own territory. They just have to basically do what the Viet Cong did, which is, waste away the opposition, just make them spend way too much in blood and treasure, whatever that line is. It gets closer to it every day, no matter what they do. And as long as you can, keep up the fight, you do that. And eventually they will either turn tail and run, give up, or there will be a day to seize. Because they just will, they'll be standing there with empty guns that might as well be boat oars. And Pokrovsk is about that.
I've heard people talking about they may be, and we don't know this for sure because, of course, we don't know the inside of the Ukrainian military command. But there's a perception that they are, I don't want to say abandoning. But they are letting Russia into Pokrovsk easier than, say, they did in other cities around Ukraine, like Chasiv Yar or Bakhmut or Mariupol. Yeah. But that is so that they can fall back on these other cities, which are far more stronger defensive positions.
Right.
And then we go into an absolute grind, and it's going to be awful. It's going to be it's going to be months, if not another year of fighting for these cities.
Yeah.
Because I've been out there. I've been to the cities in particular. I've been to one of the foremost ones of them is a city called Kramatorsk, Kramatorsk is a factory city. It used to build tractors, and it's got a coal factory, and there's all sorts of
Yeah.
industrial stuff there. And they've got tons of defensive positions there, and they will make the Russians absolutely pay for that. So there's kind of a question as to how much they're fighting for Pokrovsk, the Ukrainians, and how
Hmm.
much they are willing to fall back from that to make the Russians pay
Right.
a heavier price when they come
Yeah.
for those other fortress
Let's
cities.
let's
So
take a
we shall
break.
see.
Yeah, let's take a break, and then when we come back, I'm sure Johnny has some questions for you from our chat, and I also want to bring up the
I do have a few
Koltsovoy
questions.
the Koltsovoy pipeline, which the Ukrainians just did. They blew it up essentially with a secret mission inside of Moscow or in the Moscow area, and then of course the further idea that they're well. We'll just take more questions. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, the Koltsovoy is a 400-kilometer pipeline in outside of Moscow, and they managed to sneak people in and blow it up. Let me show you something real quick. My dad and a dead bird and his dog. my
In that order.
Yes. My dad has. I'll post a picture of it later. But my dad has won so many shooting awards that he had to create a stand to hang them all on
Back in time.
because he was hanging them on the door to his shop and it was pulling it off the hinges.
Thank you.
It's it's crazy.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So Ukraine has destroyed Russia's Koltsovoy, I hope I'm saying that right, Koltsovoy fuel pipeline in a covert operation near Moscow. One of several that they have pulled off recently, which is starting more talk about how the opposition within Russia is growing to Vladimir Putin. And the reason I think there's a mix of reasons why people might believe that. One, it may be true. Who can say? But the other thing might be is that the Ukrainians are getting more successful at these kind of missions. And therefore, the idea is that they must have help or they must have people either standing down or helping out directly that are making these things possible. So, but either way, according to HUR, it receives fuel from Ryazan in Novgorod and Moscow, has an annual capacity of 3 million tons of jet fuel, 2.8 million tons of diesel, and 1.6 million tons of gasoline, and it is offline. That's a lot. That is a huge part of the market. And considering the fact that that happened, and several of those things have happened, Russia's system has been hit several times on a level like that, and it has not affected oil prices for the negative, because remember, there used to be a day when like too many rockets coming from Gaza would change the oil price because people were worried stuff would pop off in the Middle East and it was so, the supply was so tight. But that oil glut I was telling everybody about that we're in is proven by the fact that you can take entire segments of this offline and not, have oil go to 60, like go from $60 a barrel to 90 or 100, fairly quickly like you used to. At least 75, 80 around that too. You used to be able to goose it up. Simple acts like this would spook the market. Now they take it in stride because they know there's too much production. And that's, that's sort of the unspoken here. And that's, again, if Russia is, what did they always call it? A gas station with nukes. If all you've got left are nukes and none of your people are religious fanatics who want to see God before everybody else does in a puff of smoke, the nukes don't help you much. And your country becomes quickly worthless. and you might as well be like an island off the coast of Cambodia with no government on it, at some point, just basically a kleptocracy. Let's grab some of the questions real quick. Johnny, if you would.
Yeah, right on. I've got my first one. This one is this one's from Connie Kelly. Can Philip comment on the IAEA declaring Russia guilty of nuclear terrorism?
Yeah, the IAEA did that, not least of which because of Russia's recent actions at the Zaporizhia power plant, which is Europe's largest nuclear power plant, and they've been firing from it and hiding behind the fact that obviously the Ukrainians are going to be extremely careful in any response that they do to fire back, because you don't want to hit one of the reactors or anything like that. So there's that. And then generally the Russians have been using nuclear power, nuclear arms as a way to threaten the West. So
yeah,
all of it is they just tested a new nuclear powered torpedo, the Poseidon, I think they call it. It doesn't help that Trump is threatening a
right
test as well. All of this heightens nuclear tensions, but it's clear the IAEA got sick of Russia's tactics when it came to nuclear assets.
Right.
So, and they're right. They're right. Russia is a terrorist state. It is. It is 100% a terrorist state, and they use nukes as part of their terrorism. So,
right.
This really shouldn't surprise anybody.
No.
If anything, it should surprise us that it took so long for the IAEA to actually do anything about it.
Right, because it's been patently obvious. They've been doing it on their on state-run television since the beginning of the war. Like, don't you dare try to stop us, or we'll nuke Berlin. Like, at that point, that qualifies. If pointing to if posting a picture of 8645, in the sand qualifies as a death threat against Donald Trump in the case of like James Comey, certainly saying if you try to stop us from invading this country, we'll nuke Berlin, London, and Paris before you even have time to look up, qualifies. I'm just saying as death threats, as terrorism goes in that regard. By the way, I'm enjoying the occasional sounds of cat purring. That is, it's so profoundly loud. It reaches it's relaxing. I'm finding great solace in it. That's it. Let's grab another question for Phil. If you're not too busy grabbing him by the. All right.
I'm wrestling the cat. Yeah.
Yes.
So this one is from Julie M. Ask Phil if. I think it's ask Phil if he has any info on why Russians are in Venezuela. They're to help Trump or not?
Not to help Trump, but they have a long-standing relationship with the Venezuelans. Moscow does. They've given them aircraft. They've given them trainers for aircraft, and a whole bunch of other, military aid and financial aid has gone to Venezuela. So I don't think this is anti or pro Trump. This is seen as a Moscow Venezuela thing. This is their relationship. It's more about them than it is about Trump or the United States. So they'll help the Venezuelans because they have a relationship. and they're ostensibly allies. So I think we have to look at it from outside of the U.S. Venezuelan dynamic and think
Right.
more about the Russian Venezuelan dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's also the Colombian. They have very strong ties with the Colombians. I'm trying to think who else down in Central and South America they have really, really strong ties with. But it's
Well, the KGB the KGB for the record, all the things we hate about the CIA and drug trafficking and all that kind of stuff. The KGB is proud of that. They still do it. They don't even have to. They don't have the same kind of sunshine laws that Jimmy Carter put in for the CIA, where they have to show where they're getting the money from when it comes to projects. So they don't have to create these kind of money laundering circles to do illicit stuff. They just do it overtly. That's what folding the Wagner Group underneath the military again officially was. Oh, we don't have to lie anymore. Now everybody hates us, so we don't have to pretend the Wagner Group is some sort of rogue group. They do the same thing in Africa. Russia does the same thing in Africa. And I think one of the things that people forget is that Russia's not just, and China isn't just in competition with us. And Russia's not just in competition with us. In many ways, they're in competition with each other over a bunch of stuff. For all their we're best buddies talk, those two in particular are the worst people you want to start talking to you about friendship. And the fact that they are competing over resources that they desperately need or control of resources that other people need, which is Russia's game. China needs all the food and energy it can get. Russia needs to control other people's food and energy. That's the game they're in. They may not need the fuel, but they need to have their thumb on the scale as far as being able to control how much goes out and the relationship. That's why they would jumpstart unrest in the Middle East to try and change the price of oil. It's why they were, in bed with this kind of OPEC plus thing, trying to control the secondary countries, and why they want control of the value of gold by hoarding it. And I mean, nobody ever wants to run out of stockpiling if you can steal it. And that's what Russia did with Africa, controlling the gold out of there and standing on top of it and then strangling the amount that's on the market so that the price goes up. And then doing a dump can not only benefit you, get you money at the highest dollar point, but ruin your enemies. And so there's a lot of strategy in what they do as well. So competing over Venezuelan oil or control over Venezuelan oil or drug trade with China is also has a lot to do with just their economic picture, even if we weren't in the picture. And that's the hard thing, I think, for a lot of people to grasp, our media, but also our, the sort of America firsters who pretend we're the biggest boss on the planet, no matter what we do. And the ones who think we're the biggest villain on the planet, no matter what we do, it's the same fallacy that they forget that there are competing interests out there with a lot of powerful abilities to enact that interest. And Russia's, murder squads and spraying people's faces full of Balthorium G and pushing them out of a window. And China's, manipulation, honeypot network, its control of, education, all the stuff it tries to do in the United States and Europe, it does in South America too. And it's a straight up resource war down there. So people it's odd. They think it's chess, and it's a lot more like Foursquare. There's other people at play, and it's more like or one of those people trying to get to the Super Bowl, like all the different teams jockey for a spread on that. Yeah. Let's grab one more question, Johnny, if we could. Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. Where everybody's a winner and nobody is. Right. Yeah. Let's grab one more, Johnny.
Sure thing. I've got a question from Elizabeth. Has Phil heard anything about a resistance developing in Donbass?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of talk about an insurgency. People operating behind the lines in Donbass in particular, but not just because of the long-standing ties between the two countries. Well, empire and colony. There's lots of stuff going on on the other side of the equation with kind of, as I say, partisan warfare or an insurgency or those guys covertly, because that's their home. So they know it better than the Russians do, and so they can. I mean, there's the famous story I always recall is there was a place that made kebabs in Mariupol or in Crimea, and the restaurant poisoned the food. So
right. That was just a couple years ago too. So, yeah.
That stuff does happen.
Right. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back right after this. Chicago, I guess, heard us and took a break because we're at the quarter hour. I think we're in break now. We'll. Can you hear me? Okay. Might take a moment. Oh, lost Phil for a second. Johnny, can you hear me still?
I took us to break because you guys froze.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, everything froze.
Okay, sorry about that. The timing worked out though.
Time anyway.
Yeah, so Phil's going to pop back in, I hope, and it should automatically reconnect.
Yeah.
When he does.
We got about a minute. Is that enough time for you?
I think so. I mean, it depends on when he can pop back in. Hopefully it, works out.
Let me know if you need more time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The chat says you look like you're in witness relocation or witness protection.
Yeah, I'm backlit because the change in the thing. Yeah, sorry. Oh, there he is. Give me 1 second.
Yay.
Yeah, back there. Hey, Phil. Thanks. Sorry. Try to... Maybe if I pin this down a little bit, it helps a little bit. You can hear me okay, Phil?
See the pretty...
Yeah.
All right, stand
by. Good.
We're coming back.
Thank you. So nobody can see how bloodshot my eyes are.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. 'Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay!
Welcome back. It's always thanks, Johnny. Yeah, I needed that. I think oh, whoops, sorry, my sound effects thing has popped up. So thanks for the
ending.
Yeah, you know it. So good. Let's just grab some more questions. If we could, let's grab one more, and then I'll show you something. 1 second. If you can hear me, all right. I'm gonna try and
I've got one from Rich C. Ask Phil if it's true that Russia is going to start conscripting Ukrainians from the occupied territories to send to the front to fight Ukrainians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that is true. There's an entire indoctrination program that's been going on for quite some time. At kids who are 16-ish, give or take, are being indoctrinated that their fellow Ukrainians have been taken over by a fascist. All the typical propaganda that Russia throws against the government in Kiev, that they're all a bunch of Nazis, and so Ukraine's been taken over by Nazis, so you have to go liberate your fellow Ukrainians,
right?
Which means Ukrainians pointing rifles at other Ukrainians, which is deeply cynical and awful. But then they've been doing that for think about it. Donbass, Donetsk has been occupied for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were 12 when the Russians arrived in Donetsk, you're 22 now. You know, and you've had a decade of indoctrination. So it absolutely 100% is happening that the Russians are training Ukrainians to kill other Ukrainians.
Yeah. Well, and the matter of whether it'll be successful or not, I suppose, is the bigger question. You know, obviously they're trying. They're having a hard time convincing their own people to do it well. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It doesn't catch on. Let's. I want to. I got a happy ending set up in a minute, but let's grab one more question if we could, Johnny, and as we approach the bottom of the show.
Yeah, this one is actually to you, Hal. It's from Poo Picker Upper.
Mm-hmm.
Does Hal's dad know Billy Strings? He mentioned a Sparks during an interview with Rick Beato.
I will ask him. It's if we Sparkses get around, but more than likely if he there's I know of him. I don't know what my dad knows of him. Very well it could be that he ended up picking up one of my dad's guitars or one that he fixed. There's a lot of that too, because my dad at one point was the only authorized Martin repairman in the country when the factory burned down. So that's how he came upon, becoming friends with Flatt and Scruggs and Vince Gill and all these people. The joke always was, Johnny, when we were in a band together in high school, was that if I wanted a country music career, I could have had one in an afternoon. I'm bullheaded and like rock music. But if I'd had decided I didn't care and just was like, I want to play country music, it had been over. Like that would have been the rest of my life, because we, that's where our friendships lie. We have friends that were in Dolly Parton's band, and a bunch of them are coming by to see my dad this week, which is really, really sweet of them. My dad talked to Vince Gill earlier today. And if you don't know, like a lot of people know who Vince Gill is. He's in the Eagles currently, but he won country music, singer of the year, whatever, won the CMAs hands down year after year after year. I think more than Garth Brooks, and certainly more deserving. But and he was in Pure Prairie League, and had a song called Amy, which is my mom's first name, and so that became awkward, because they've been friends longer than that, and so that's. So there are a lot of people who have stumbled across my dad's fretwork, whether they've done it, the guys in Nickel Creek and all the, the bluegrass bands and, Newgrass Revival, obviously. So, and Bela Fleck and all those guys. So he's definitely got an anchor of human beings, around him that are a mix of well-known country people all the way to ne'er-do-well nobody, bluegrass people. Like J.D. Crowe in the New South and Tony Rice and all those guys. And those are huge names in the bluegrass world,
Mm-hmm.
And they're all people that came to my dad to get their instruments repaired and set up right in the Sparks tradition. So his shop's right here in the house. Has done so many instruments for so many people. And it's just kind of an amazing thing. There's so many guitars that are sitting around that wouldn't be worth a damn from, like, he has pre-Civil War, the acoustics that he's fixed, and banjos that he's fixed up for people with necks that are, older than, my great grandmother, would be. So it's a big deal. It's really, it's very cool. So, and I don't know if we have, another one in there. How we doing? Yeah, we're okay on time. So the essence of these things.
That's it for questions.
Okay, great. Here, I'll show one more thing real quick. This is a fella right here. I'm showing it on the live stream, standing in front of a shed holding a Kentucky long rifle. That's Herschel House, and I'm fairly certain I was standing about 3 feet away when this picture was taken, even though it looks like it was taken in the 1800s. And Herschel House is a Kentucky long rifle maker. He's one of the last true, they built an entire school off of how he did it in that shed that I'm showing, which is where my gun was made and my dad's gun was made and my Herschel House flintlock pistol was made. And as all these, NRA guys running around talking about what tough guys they are because they have AR-15s and night vision goggles and silencers and suppressors and duct taped, barrel magazines and all this and trigger modifiers to make them a hair trigger and stuff. And in my whole family, I've been a member of the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association, the NMLRA, since I was 6 years old. And this fella made my dad's gun. He made my gun. He made the gun that will be my son's, which is both of those basically, and a pistol that we've had. And this is stuff that's when the guys wrote the Second Amendment, this is what they were talking about. They were talking about a gun that took you, 30 seconds if you were a master to reload each ball, and you could, if you could fire it in under a minute, you were amazing. And they, and they were hard to come by. So it's not like you could have 3 of them, stacked next to you, ready to shoot them off. And so that that gun sits in the other room, right around the corner from where I'm sitting. And I'll bring it out and show it on the thing. But I wanted to make sure we had gotten to all the end of our questions. And Johnny, you're doing a live stream afterwards. And I want to also remind everybody, Phil has
immediately after this.
Yeah. We will throw it your way. And whoops, that's the wrong one.
You can do it on YouTube now too. I finally changed that setting.
Yes, isn't that great? That's such a nice thing. So we will do just that. So we can throw to you whatever your particular social media video poison is. You can go to Twitch or YouTube to see them. And then, of course, Phil has a show on Sundays on The Edge.
Mm-hmm.
What's the new episode?
This week we have a guy by the name of Jonathan Fink. Mm-hmm. Jonathan has his own channel on YouTube and his own podcast called Silicon Curtain. Mm-hmm. He's a Brit. He's a Brit based in Oxford. And we just, chat about what it's like to cover the war and his thoughts on the war and, all the people that he talks to, the people I talk to, and our reflection on those conversations. So I about that whole musket thing, by the way.
Yeah.
The
keep talking. I'm listening.
Yeah. As somebody who's been around guns used in war, I don't fetishize guns. I don't think guns are to be fetishized. They're tools. They're a hammer or a drill. It's a tool. And I always, as a Michigander, where guns are a big part of rural life in Michigan, I never understood the guys that fetishize it and that romanticize it, and it just doesn't. It all seems like a bunch of cosplay for me when it comes to
it very much is
who get all their tech, their battle tech stuff and their body armor and all the rest of it. And it
goes towards
always seemed disingenuous.
It's very much like military funding. The question of military funding during a time of the Crusades or the expansion of the Byzantine or the Ottoman Empire or the Mongols or the Turks or whatever, the military expansion was about what's most likely that I have control of that can kill my people, and how can I stop it from killing my people, whatever it is. And in this case, most of the time back then, it was other people who wanted their stuff, their food, their land, whatever it was. But the reality is that these days, bacteria or cancer are more likely to kill you by accident. They don't even do it maliciously. It's just a fact of life. And that, spending that amount of money, on a villain that is least likely to kill you, in a lot of these cases is one of the problems that is with Russia. Russia should spend every dime it spends on military spending on alcohol rehab, because that's what takes their life expectancy up to this. Thank you so much, Phil. Thank you, Johnny. I love you guys. Thanks, Chicago, and all the viewers and everybody.
Be strong,
and listeners.
Hal.
Thanks, man.
It's a tough process, but it's part of life.
Yeah. Kill. Hang out. Okay. I was good. I just had to run and check on somebody real quick just to make sure everybody was all right.
That's okay.
That is just filth, Johnny. That is filth.
What
Oh, yeah.
You take it and you like it, cat. Yeah. Yeah, cats. Some cats have that thing where you're like, if you hit their tailbone, they're just like, ah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He loves it.
All right. I'm going to let you guys go and go.
Okay.
Spend time with the family.
Talk to you on Wednesday.
I'm going to go get ready for my stream.
Stay strong.
I'll see everybody soon.
Okay,
Take
and
care,
I'll
Johnny. Good to see you.
I'll keep the stream up and running until Johnny gets up and going. So, thank you guys so much.
All right.
All right, appreciate it.
Take care, Hal. All right. Be well.
By the way, Hal Vickery and Boston Brian and Jeanette and Miss Funky and LM and Bridget and For the Love of Paul Graff and Angela and Cover Me and Marcia and Peter. Thank you guys so much. And thanks to everybody for showing up.